Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be baking while talking briefly about what each of the Federalist papers are, the required ones for the AP Gov exam, and how you can easily tell them apart, because me personally, I do have a hard time remembering how they're different and what they are even about. So let's get into it. Also, smash that subscribe button, comment down below, like, notification button, all those things, so you never miss another one of my amazing videos. Okay, so first is Federalist 10, because you learn this case almost immediately, and it's all about factions. And in case it helps you, it doesn't help me, but it was written by James Madison, in case you're wondering. By the way, we're making pumpkin bread. Where's my baking soda? Okay, he starts this by describing what factions are, which is just interest groups of people, and states that they're inevitable because people are going to have opinions and they're going to form groups so they don't feel singled out and ganged up on. And he says that in order to control that factions, and the problem with factions is that there will be 2 or 3 dominating groups, and then the minority becomes oppressed and they have no say. And so he thinks that if there's a large republic, then there's no one majority because there are so many different competing factions, so everyone has a say. And if this sounds familiar, it's because it is. This is the epitome of what a pluralist democracy would be. It's the pluralist form of democracy where you have a bunch of competing interest groups that are all trying to get their way and their say. So on the exam, if there are any FRQ prompts asking about what type of democracy would be best fit, or like what the framers would have intended, and you are you are given the Federalist 10 as one of your documents, you would want that if you think that pluralist democracy would have been better, because Madison was trying to say that factions would end up with a whole bunch all cancel each other's voices out, basically. An easy way to remember this is 10 equals tons of factions. 10 tons of factions. 10 tons of factions. Then from there you can kind of remember what it was about. If that doesn't help you, you can kind of just remember that the Federalist 10 was the first document, and it kind of has the most simplistic idea and the most straightforward idea when it comes to setting up the government. Next up is Federalist 51, which is also by Madison, which is why it doesn't really help to remember who wrote them. This one is the document that really first introduces the idea of checks and balances and separations of powers, basically stating that each branch, there needs to be different branches, because if not, it'll just end up in tyranny no matter what. No matter how we want to look at it, if there's only one branch, it will end up ending in tyranny. And so we need 3 different or just multiple branches that all focus on different things and have different wills and different structures, because ambition counteracts ambition. That's his words, not mine. And so each branch has its own thing, just does goes its own way, doesn't really overlap too much with each other. He also goes into how naturally the legislative branch is just the strongest, so you have to turn it into a bicameral legislature and have 2 houses that do separate things but kind of work together to complete the same thing. And it's really funny to me because you look at it and you're like, the framers did not write a lot in the Constitution. They kind of just took things like these papers and just ran with it. They were just paraphrasing what was already written. So it just makes you wonder, So if it ever just comes up on an FRQ or a multiple choice question, all you really need to know is that it outlined the separations of power and checks and balances. How you can remember this is instead of 4-1, you get 5-5-1. They're equal. You see where I'm going with this? It's super you're definitely think of a cornball for that. But now you're gonna remember it. Now you're never gonna forget it, because 5-1, they're equal. They're balanced and they're checked. So 5-1, 5-1. There are 3 branches, not one. Yeah. 5-1, 5. Thirdly is Federalist 70, which this time is written by Alexander Hamilton. So since this one also came out after Federalist 70, also came out after Federalist 51, you can kind of think that's okay, Federalist 51 set up the idea of the bicameral legislature. It kind of set up what the legislative branch should look like and how separations of powers and checks and balances should be. And then Federalist 70 comes in and is talking about how the president should be. Or not president, just the main executive branch, whoever is like going to be in charge and like the head of the country. This one also just states that the executive or whoever's like the head of the government should be one singular person versus a whole bunch, because your other two or however many other branches you're going to have are going to have these like huge groups of people where it's like long drawn out processes in order to get things done. So you need like a quick person that can get shit done, you know, just for the efficiency of the country and the laws. Also, like, Hamilton wrote this knowing that not all leaders are going to have the best character and be the best, and so having a single executive will keep them accountable, because you can't blame something on someone when you're the only person in office. Like, if you do something wrong, you can't blame someone else when you are the only executive. So it keeps them accountable, keeps them efficient, and then keeps them energetic because they're the only one doing the job. Yeah. In all honesty, this is not on very many multiple choice questions, and it is very rarely going to be on a free response question, simply because it's such a specific idea. And for the free response, they usually have more broad ideas where like you incorporate things like Brutus 1 or like just things that have more of a broad concept versus like single executive energy. Like, it's very rarely going to be on any FRQs and very, very minimal MCQs. A way you can remember this is 70 equals strong single CEO. A little alliteration for you. Strong single CEO. Strong single CEO. 70 equals strong single CEO. CEO. So lastly, we have Federalist 78, which is also by Hamilton. And this one, if you can sense a pattern, it went Federalist 51, somewhat talking about how the legislative branch should act. Federalist 70 talking about how the executive should act, and then this one talking about how the judiciary should run and how it should act. Now, opposite to the legislative branch, the judicial branch just already off the bat is going to be the weakest, because they can't budget, they can't declare laws, they don't have the power of the purse, they don't have the power of the sword. All they can do is, it wasn't actually established yet, actually. So there wasn't really a clear purpose for what they would do, but whatever they would do, it would not be as equal as the other two. You can kind of think of this as, since the legislative branch is so powerful and that it can create new laws and reflect the modern will of the people and what the people want the time being, you need to have some kind of system where they can make sure these are being loyal to the Constitution and what the framers actually wanted, and that is what the judiciary is. So to make sure that this judgment of the laws was going to be unbiased and completely just unbiased, there needs to be a separate branch. It can't be part of the legislative branch, and it can't be the executive judging these laws. So they made the judicial branch. And completely broken down, all this document stated was that there needs to be judicial review. It established that we need to have some sort of branch that can review laws and make sure we're doing what the framers would want us to do. It also brings up the idea of lifelong judges that will serve their whole lives, so they don't get pressured into doing things in the moment to make the people happy, still get reelected, kind of make a lifelong appointment, so they will do how they feel and stay true to themselves and stay true to their beliefs. So overall, this just stated that really all the judicial branch has is the power to make judgment. They can't actually enforce any of that judgment, so we need to protect and almost put the judicial branch in its little bubble and give it as much power as we can without giving it too much power, because it really on its own has substantially less power than the other two branches. So it creates this idea of judicial review, and you need to checking the legislative branch and the executive branch, and then also making lifetime appointments, so the judges and the people reviewing these laws stay true to themselves and stay true to the Constitution. You can remember this by 78, the court decides the fate. 78, the court decides the fate. 78, the court decides the fate. So this one might be on some more multiple choice questions than the Federalist 70 will. And it honestly might show up in a free response question. Again, the most likely one out of these four to show up on a free response question would definitely be Federalist 10 because it has like the broadest idea and the most simplistic idea. However, there could very well be any of these showing up in the exam. But if I were to choose a second one that'd be like showing up more frequently, it would be Federalist 51, and then it'd be this one. So, yeah, 78, the court decides the fate. 78, the court decides the fate. As per usual, thank you so much for watching. I'll post the end result of what these look like. Maybe if I'm done editing it by the time they're out. But thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. And this was not for beginners. This is for this video. None of the videos I make are for beginners because I'm not very good at teaching things from the very basics. This is for if you've already taken the class and you're prepping for the AP exam and you just want some kind of memorization and like recollection of what each of the things are. So I hope this helped, and I hope this pumpkin bread is gonna be delicious.